Welcome back. We will go ahead and start with our afternoon meeting. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Agent,
Here.
Clegg,
Here.
Halliburton,
Here.
Willits,
Here.
Whittings, here, all present.
Thank you. Next up, we've got a request for approval of council minutes from February 14th.
I wasn't here at that meeting, so.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I move for approval of the council minutes from February 14th. Second.
we have a motion approval. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Agent,
Yes.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Willits,
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here.
Whittings,
Also abstaining since I wasn't here.
3 in favor, motion carries.
Thanks. And now we'll move on to special business. First, we have CAR 22-34 request for reconsideration. Is there someone presenting on this or?
Is this one yours, Elaine?
Madam Mayor,
This is-
I'm looking for my notes. I seem to have the wrong notes open. I apologize. I thought I had these ready.
I think this is on the agenda at the request of the council member Clegg.
Madam Mayor, I have reviewed the request for reconsideration, and there does appear to be new information that we didn't have available to us at the time that we made our decision. And I would move that we do move to reconsider this item. CAR 0034. CAR 220034. And did we have a date certain identified?
April 4th.
For April 4th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I agree that we do have some new information. I wasn't here at that meeting. But I would encourage us to reconsider it at a later date.
Madam Mayor, there's nothing in the, what is this? I just don't know. It's not in, there's nothing linked to it. I don't know what PUD 34 was or what the new information is.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm sorry. There's nothing linked in our agenda and I don't remember what CAR 34 is. What is this?
Madam Mayor, council members, CAR 22-00034 was a rezone at the corner of 11th and River Street with the development agreement.
And Madam Mayor, and what's the new information?
The new information is that the consideration for affordable units had not been reviewed by CCDC, and there's no assurance that those would go forward.
Well, it sounds like we need to talk about it more.
Is there further discussion? All right, clerk, we call the roll?
Agent,
Yes.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Willits,
Yes.
Whittings,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Okay, and just to follow up on that one, then on April 4th, that matter will come to the council again, at which time CCDC should have acted. And then staff, I expect this time will be ready to present on this in a as if it were a regular hearing again.
Madam Mayor, council members, yes, we will be working with CCDC to look at this other information and get it before you.
Great, thank you. Okay, and next up, we've got David Mosier with PUD 22-60 revised findings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The item before you should look familiar. On February 7th, 2023, City Council heard the appeal of PUD 22-00060, which was the Armory project located at 801 East Reserve Street. At this hearing, City Council denied the appeal and upheld the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve and instructed staff to return with revised findings and a new condition of approval. If the council agrees with the new findings and the condition of approval, then a motion is needed.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I move that we approve PUD 22-60 with revised findings as presented.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Agent,
No.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Willits,
Yes.
Whittings.
Yes.
4 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
All right. And now we'll hear from, I see, oh, both Mike and Eric are here. Great. For the 2023 quarterly report, Q1.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We have today our quarterly report for the first quarter of fiscal year 23. I'll be presenting the first couple of slides and then Mike will come up and go through the actual financial information. This report represents the first report that we've prepared in the new format. As you'll recall, we came before the City Council in October of 2022 to discuss potential revisions, and we've now put those discussed revisions into practice in this new report. The new format is streamlined. There's more focus on what we believe would be information that would be meaningful for the City Council and for decision making. I'll note that while it's streamlined, detailed information does still exist on Open Book, which is the city's budget transparency tool. And we have strived within the report to maintain summary level information that existed previously. In terms of objectives related to this new report, we really, again, wanted to concentrate our efforts on items that could be used for decision-making purposes, as well as to improve readability for the public. As part of that, we moved to exception-based reporting. We have an enhanced focus on operations. We recognize that in the prior report, sometimes need to know information was difficult to find or pinpoint. So we're trying to highlight that in a different way as part of this report. We've also aimed to strengthen the link between the economic environment, the local economic environment, and the city's financial performance by focusing again on key economic information and pulling some of the other information that we use to report out of the document. These changes were made in the spirit of continual process improvement, of course, and I'll note that through this format change and through automation, we'll have more time to actually focus on analysis and less time spent preparing the document. Included as part of these revisions were 3 new sections that you'll see in the report. One is an overtime analysis, both for the general fund as well as for all other funds. We have new information that's available to us, which is our vacancy status, again, rolling that up at the general fund level as well as all other funds. And then we have a summary of all IBCs or interim budget changes that the council has approved through the fiscal year, and we'll be adding to that as in subsequent quarterly reports. One last note before Mike comes up and goes through the actual financial information. One process improvement that we've incorporated into this report and into this overall process is stepping up our efforts as it relates to in-year forecasting to help inform variances included in the quarterly report. So it's really a collaborative effort across the organization between the budget office, finance managers, department managers across the organization. Again, more of a key focus on variances, considering things like seasonality, with the ultimate objective of putting to use any surplus funds or funds that we might not be able to use for their originally intended purposes towards more strategic initiatives as the year progresses. With that, I'll hand it over to Mike and we'll be available for any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Madam Mayor, council members, now for some of the detail about the first quarter information. And the slide here may look familiar. This is the new report. This is the general fund revenues table. On the left, we have the first quarter of fiscal year 2022 for comparison. The second column from the right, we have the first quarter of this year, actual information. And then in the middle, we have the adopted budget and the revised budget figures. So they are there. On revenues, there's a few items to just brief you on. One is departmental revenue. About a third of that is parks revenue. Parks revenue continues to do well, whether we're in recovery stage or just growing now after the pandemic. That revenue is up. We're doing better than last year. Our budget is below what we did last year, so we expect that part of revenue to exceed the budget, and that category as well may exceed the budget for the year. Development fees, things are a little bit, I hesitate to say slower, but a little bit less busy in planning development as far as permits issued, but a lot of large projects are still in there, plenty of work for people to do and keep up with. So we also expect development fees to likely exceed budget for the year. Then moving down to liquor tax, our quarterly payments are 3.4% higher than they were last year, but we do expect at year end a additional payment is likely to be less given the pandemic is fading and there's just less retail liquor sales. And so we expect that to likely be under budget slightly. It's not one of our key revenues in terms of dollars, but that's what we expect. And then on sales tax, there's nothing listed there for this year, but for the first quarter, the city again is at 1% growth. You may recall last year we got 4 quarters of like 20% or more growth. Now we're back to 1%, which is what we expected. The thing we have with the budget here is we did not factor in all 4 quarters last year when we did the budget. So there's about a $2 million or a little north of that upside in sales tax. And then this is just an example of what the report looks like now. There are 9 revenue categories. 8 of them have a page like this, or it might be 2 pages, where you can see 5 years of history with the quarterly results stacked in a bar chart. And then we have the 23 budget in the first quarter. And then below that, we have summary write-up on those revenues. So you can access the information in the report for each of those revenues. Then moving on to expenditures, which is later in the report. This chart is quite simple. It just has personnel, and then it has maintenance and operations, capital, and there should be one more slash there before equipment. And this is not the capital fund. There's just a little bit of capital we have in the general fund. It's mostly M&O. And the talking points here for personnel, you'll see 23.5% for the first quarter. The benchmark would be roughly 25% of the year. And we still have quite a few vacancies. We're 10%, a little better in the general fund and even higher in the enterprise funds. So we're under budget there. We expect it to be under budget for the year. It would have been even lower were it not for one-time compensation in the first quarter, and our overtime was slightly above the 25% benchmark. And then the second line, the non-personnel cost, basically 31%, that's similar to last year. That's in an expected range. We just have a lot of costs and transfers which are front-loaded in the year. That's what brings that number up. We're paying more for certain things like vehicle maintenance and fuels right now, but not large ticket items. A lot of the dollars are in professional services, contracted and miscellaneous services, and contingencies. So they're all in there as well. But things are looking normal, even though the number is a little high. And then similar to the revenues, the personnel expense chart is shown here. You can see 5 years of history by quarter, and then there'll be a write-up on some of the specifics. There we may touch on some of the vacancy numbers, overtime, constant staffing, et cetera. Let me go back here. And then there'll also be another one for maintenance and operations and capital too. Then early in the report, we do have some economic information like we had previously. And these are the 4 categories you will find there: employment, unemployment, airport passenger traffic. We have graphs and some commentary there. And then there's also just a paragraph talking about construction activity. Again, things are still quite busy, but not as busy as they were. And that's what you would get from reading that section of the report. So the employment graph is the same. We look at employment in Boise for the quarter. We compare it to the year ago quarter and then the prior quarter just 3 months ago. And you can see there's some growth there. And then we have unemployment comparing the city, the county, the metropolitan statistical area, the state, and the nation. And then we also, again, have just comparisons to other Western cities, their metropolitan statistical areas. Boise is third from the left at 2.1%. And we're like 31st out of 389. So we're doing quite well when you compare us to other MSAs nationwide. And then we have the airport passenger traffic graph, which updates monthly. And the top line on the right, you can see there's been some growth. December, I think, was when we had a lot of traffic issues with airlines and weather and things. So that's what brought down December. But the airport appears to be continuing to grow again. So in summary, our revenues are in normal range. We project sales tax, development fees, and departmental revenue to be above budget. Liquor tax likely to be a little below budget. Our expenditures, particularly in personnel, are below budget. And M&O, we have tended to be below budget in recent years as well. Again, a lot of staff vacancies is driving the personnel. And then economic conditions, it is difficult and just uncertain to try to read the economy right now. We continue just to monitor things, and we'll just have to see what happens next. It's really hard to predict. That is it for the report. We'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. I really like this new format. A couple of quick questions. I'm assuming, well, sales tax, we are at the 1% again, but liquor tax has also not come in, and franchise fees were quite a bit lower. Is that just a timing thing on when this report ran versus last year?
Madam Mayor, Council Member, franchise fees, last year we did have some issues with some accruals reversing, and it looks like it is down from last year, but we don't expect it. We expect it'll be up slightly. Sales tax, 1%. And your other question was which one?
Liquor tax also
Liquor tax,
hasn't
yeah.
come in yet.
Yes, that has not come in. I believe it is maybe has come in now, but just a timing issue there as well. We're up per quarter, but at the end of the year, we think we'll just come up a little bit short there.
Okay, Madam Mayor, just one last note. The one thing, like I said, I really like this new format. The one thing that might be helpful would be on the prior year when you have the dollar amount to also have the percentage of budget that dollar amount was. I don't think it's necessary to show what the budget number was, but if you can show, is that in line with the percentage that's come in the past, it might be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor. Just a quick comment. I really appreciate the new format. The vacancy status page is really helpful in getting sort of a snapshot. And if other council members haven't had a chance to take a look, that vacancy status page, things like 28 or something like that, is wonderful. And then also having a summary of the interim budget changes, which I think begins on page 29, is also really helpful. So I just want to really relay that I appreciate to you and all the staff who worked hard to put this together. It's probably the best snapshot that I feel like I've gotten so far since I've been on council.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. All right, we have one more item of special business, and that is the reappointment of Monica Church to the Ethics Commission for a 4-year term ending February 2027. Monica's here with us today. I really appreciate the service you provided so far and your willingness to serve again. And I just ask for unanimous consent that we approve a reappointment.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
You wanted a unanimous consent request, or were you requesting unanimous?
Oh, no, I was requesting a request.
Oh, okay.
I request unanimous consent to reappoint Monica.
Sorry, I
Church
said
to
that in
the
a way that sounded like I was requesting a unanimous consent
okay.
myself.
Yes.
Okay, without objection. All right, Monica, you are reconfirmed. Would you like to say anything? Thank you very much. We're going to move into the consent agenda. All items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There's no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item is removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, discussion. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Agent,
Yes.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Willetts,
Yes.
Whittings,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. We will move into ordinances. We have one on first reading.
Madam Mayor, I ask unanimous consent that all ordinances on the first reading calendar be read by number and title only and filed for second reading.
Without objection.
ORD 11-23, an ordinance CAR 22-00018 for property located at 800 West State Street, amending zoning classifications of the city of Boise City to change the classification of real property, particularly described in section 1 of this ordinance and adjacent rights of way from L-OD, limited office with design review, to C-5DD/DA, central business with downtown design review and development agreement zone, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of the zone change and providing an effective date.
Thank you. And now we'll move into second reading.
Madam Mayor, I ask unanimous consent that all ordinances on second reading be read by number and title only and filed for third reading.
Without objection.
ORD 9-23, an ordinance repealing and replacing Boise City Code Title 9, Chapter 13, Green Construction Code of Boise City by adopting the 2018 International Green Construction Code as amended to be known as the Green Construction Code of Boise City, establishing voluntary regulations, increasing the sustainability components of buildings and sites, requiring compliance with the Boise City Green Construction for city-owned projects, approving a summary of the ordinance, and providing an effective date. ORD 10-23, an ordinance amending Boise City Code Title 5, Chapter 12, Section 35 to amend control valve location requirements, amending Title 5, Chapter 12, Section 37 to amend floor control assemblies, amending Title 5, Chapter 12, Sections 60 and 61 to amend requirements for firefighter air replenishing systems and providing an effective date.
And now third reading.
Madam Mayor, I move that further reading of ORD 6-23 and 8-23 be dispensed with and the record reflect they've been read a third time in full.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Agent,
Yes.
Clegg, Halliburton,
Yes.
Willetts,
Yes.
Whittings,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries. ORD 6-23, an ordinance CAR 21-00035 for property located at 5727 Hill Road, annexing 3.825 acres of certain lands and territory situated in Ada County, Idaho, adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the city of Boise City, establishing and determining the land use classification of said 3.8 acres as R-1B, single-family residential, 4.8 unit per acre, setting forth a reasoned statement in support of such annexation and zone change, directing the city engineer to lodge and file a legal description and map for said annexed lands and territory, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Auditor, the Ada County Treasurer, the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission, providing that a copy of said legal description and map of said annexed lands and territory be recorded with the Ada County Recorder and filed with the Ada County Assessor and Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law and providing an effective date. ORD 8-23, an ordinance amending Title 9, Chapter 2, Development Impact Fee, Sections 7, 12B, and 13 of Boise City Code. This amendment updates the attribution of certain local park impact fees, development impact fees per service unit, assessment and payment of development impact fees, and providing an effective date of April 10th, 2023.
Madam Mayor, I move that ORD 6-23 and ORD 8-23 be approved.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Madam Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Before
go
we
ahead.
call roll, I just
Yes.
wanted to note that ORD 8-23 is related to park impact fees in Harris Ranch. That was something that our staff worked through for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that those park impact fees will stay in the area that they were designated for.
Thank you. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Agent,
Yes.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Willetts,
Yes.
Whittings,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
And next, we have a motion for executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-206-1C and J, to enter into executive session to consider the acquisition of real property not owned by a public agency and to consider labor contract matters authorized under Idaho code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Bajent,
Yes.
Clegg,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
Willetts,
Yes.
Whittings.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you.